everyone, this is another BookTube channel. Today, something a little bit different, a little more casual. I just really want to show off the oldest books in my collection. I'm not really a huge collector of old or rare books, but if I do find myself in a old bookstore, a used bookstore, an antique bookstore, or even just a thrift shop that has some older books, I will pick one up if it just catches my eye. It's not necessarily a book that I have any emotional attachment to, or a book that I've read before or even intend to read. I just like the eye appeal of having old books sometimes. So I've accrued a handful over the years, and I wanted to show them off. I thought that might be fun. And just to clarify, when I'm talking about the oldest books in my collection, I'm not just saying like a copy of Frankenstein that I own. I mean literally like a physical book that existed a long time ago, that was printed a long time ago. Those kinds of books. So you're going to get a pretty wide array here of different genres and also different years. The earliest book on this list is from 1967, and the oldest one goes back into the 1860s. So I hope that you guys find this list fun, and with that, let's get started. First book up on the list is from 1967. This is Glory Road by Robert Heinlein. This is an Avon book. I actually did read this one. I went through a phase where I wanted to read a lot of Robert Heinlein. I thought he was going to be a really cool author to get into. And he does have a lot of good books, but he's also got a lot of garbage. I would classify this one more with his garbage than anything. A lot of really antiquated misogynist tones in this one. Still a nice book, and for 1967, it's held up really well. Like I said, I read this one mainly because it could be read. Like I was able to comfortably hold this and flip through it. Pages aren't loose or anything. I think I got this one. I believe I got this from the Strand bookstore in New York City. A handful of these are going to be from there. Next up, a book printed in 1963. This one is, I think, really cool. This is The Adventures of Tom Bombadil by J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm not a huge Tolkien fan. I've never finished the Lord of the Ring books. And I've watched the movies. I thought those were good. But I found this at a thrift shop in Tarrytown, New York. And I kind of just bought it out of principle because I flipped to the copyright page and it said that it was the first American edition of this book. So I thought this was a cool opportunity to own a first edition of a J.R.R. Tolkien book for pretty cheap. This is a kid's book. It's basically a series of poems that are also illustrated. Really cool. And it's just, this is just another one that's a fun little conversation piece, a fun thing to have on the shelf. So, 1963, The Adventures of Tom Bombadil. Okay, getting into the 50s now. This is from 1958, Red Alert by Peter Bryant. So, a little bit of a story behind this one. I'm a huge Stanley Kubrick fan. I love his movies. He's my favorite director. And I took a film class in high school where we watched Dr. Strangelove. And I was a bit of a teacher's pet in that class because I just love movies. And at that point, I wanted to go into a career in film. So I really was made myself known to the teacher about, how much I love movies. And at the end of the year, he gave me this book. This is the book that was the inspiration for Dr. Strangelove. This is not a comedy. It's very straight-laced. This was also made into a movie, I think with Henry Fonda, called Failsafe, which plays it straight. But Stanley Kubrick read this and thought it was a laugh riot. So this one I've also read a long, long time ago. It was pretty good from what I remember. This is an Ace book, and just pretty cool. Next up from 1956, this is another Robert Heinlein. It's pretty beat up, and I think it's missing its original dust jacket, but it's Double Star by Robert Heinlein. According to the indicia, this is a first edition, which is pretty cool. I have not gotten around to reading this one, and it doesn't look particularly great because it's just black cover because the dust jacket's missing. But this was, again, I was in a Robert Heinlein phase. So when I saw this, tape bound and probably what was it? $18. That's actually kind of high for what I would pay for something like this, but I figured it was cheap enough. Let me grab it. So there you go. Another Robert Heinlein. Okay, this one is really cool. This one I like a lot. This is a 1951 edition of The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. This book, it's a Bantam book. It's I think the first like pocket edition of The Martian Chronicles, and it's old enough where on the back where they're talking about what the book's about and they talk about the author, Ray Bradbury is described as a magnificently gifted young author, and I just think that's really cool. This is a case where I've read this book many times. I haven't read this specific copy. I've kept it in the bag, but The Martian Chronicles is one of my favorite books. So when I found this at a used bookstore in New York City, not the Strand, but around the corner from the Strand, there's a place called Alabaster Bookshop. I found this there, I'm pretty sure. And it's one of my favorite things that I have. It's so cool. Okay, we're out of the 50s. We are into the 40s. And from 1947, right? 47, this is Sinister Errand by Peter Cheney. This was a Christmas gift from my wife a long time ago. I haven't read it because I'm kind of afraid to take it out of the plastic and flip through it. I don't know that it's in the best shape. This is another Avon mystery book. These are just really fun. I mean, this is also a great cover. I really like this one a lot. Another one from the 40s that was from that same Christmas gift batch from my wife. She Faded into Air by Ethel Lena White. This is a popular library mystery, not Avon. Another mystery book. This one I have opened up just to flip through. It's unfortunately not complete. It's missing the first 34 pages. So unfortunately I'll never really, even if I wanted to read this one, I don't think I'd get the chance. But still a fun book with a fun cover. Okay, we're getting really old now. We have a book from 1930 coming up. This is a slipcase edition of Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. This is by Grosset and Dunlap. And I'm going to do my best to show off what I can here. I'll also take still pictures and inject them here so you can see a bit more. But this is what the actual book is. It's really nice binding. It's also got like a really awesome map. I'm not going to flip this around because it's a little delicate, but I'll put pictures in here. But I still need to read Treasure Island. And I would like to, just because I want to justify owning this book because it's really cool. And I just love that it's from 1930. I mean, this is also a book that there's a few in here that are like this, and I'll include pictures of this. This book was a gift to someone in 1945. Uncle Herbert gave this to, I don't know what that says. Names were different back then, I don't know. But Uncle Herbert, thank you for the gift. All right, big time jump here, going from 1930 all the way to 1902. This is the Temple Shakespeare edition of Antony and Cleopatra. You will notice a rubber band around it. I'm sorry if that makes you cringe if you're a classic book collector, but this cover is disconnected. It is detached. So I just put the rubber band around it to keep it in place. This one I also got from the Strand bookstore. Just a nice, I thought it was cool to own a really old Shakespeare book. There was another book from this series there at the time that I bought and gave to one of my favorite college professors, who was the first teacher I ever had that made me appreciate Shakespeare. Like, I went through high school, read a bunch of Shakespeare plays and thought it was boring and hated it. Then I got to college and I got an actually good teacher who was passionate about the material. And all of a sudden I realized, holy crap, Shakespeare's great. I totally get it now. So just really fun and cool book. This is another cool one, and I'll take pictures because the cover might not show up really great, but from 1900, Robinson Crusoe. I actually do intend to read Robinson Crusoe sometime this year. I'll probably get like an actual readable, copy that I can manhandle. But yeah, this is another really cool one. This is one that it's also a gift, so it's got an inscription on the inside from Uncle Ned and Aunt Lacey, I don't know. But it was a Christmas gift in 1900. And there's some cool illustrations in here. I'll put some pictures up. This one I got from that same thrift bookshop or thrift shop in Tarrytown that I got the Tom Bombadil book from. So really cool find there. And again, not too expensive. So I figured why not? Even though this was a book that I did not read in high school, even though it was assigned to me. I just thought it was a fun opportunity to own something cool. Getting near the end here, and we are officially pre-1900. This is another Shakespeare book from 1892. This is Julius Caesar. This is, even though it's older than the other Shakespeare book I showed, it's in a lot better shape. I don't know what that's about, but this one, it wasn't a gift, but it is inscribed by the original owner. Her name was Florence Todd. In July 1893 is when she inscribed this, but copyright page does say 1892. And this one again has some really cool etchings in them that I guess you'd call them, or drawings. And it looks like Florence even remarked in the margins here, she would, parenthesize things and write in the margins, definitions of words that maybe she's interpreting. So pretty cool. Somebody in 1892, maybe this was assigned reading for them in high school too. Okay, we've reached the oldest book in my collection now, and honestly, I was a little disappointed when I found out this was the oldest book in my collection, and I'll tell you why. But it's this collection. It's Barry Lyndon and Haggerty Diamond by W.M. Thackeray. This book is from 1869. I paid $1 for it at that thrift shop in Tarrytown. I did not know it was that old until I was literally looking at books for this video, and I said, wonder when this one was. Maybe it was like the 50s or something. No, 1869, and I can't find anything online to dispute that. Like I said, I'm a little disappointed because it's not really the prettiest book. They had like the entire set. Like this was one volume in a complete set of Thackeray works at that shop. And I bought Barry Lyndon because I mentioned earlier I'm a huge Stanley Kubrick fan, so I wanted to own all of the books that he adapted into movies. At the time, that's something that I wanted, so I was like, oh, cool, Barry Lyndon, I'll take it. I still haven't read it. I probably won't read it because it honestly seems pretty boring, and it doesn't look great. Like, it doesn't have a cool cover or anything. It's a nice book, and it's held together pretty well for, almost 150 years or whatever. But I wish that I had something a little bit cooler for the oldest book. But yeah, 1869. Pretty cool. So that's it for the oldest books in my collection. I think I'm going to do a separate video for the oldest comic books in my collection because I have a lot of really cool stuff there too. I would also love to hear what is the oldest book in your collection. Leave a comment below. I would also love to see a picture of your oldest book. So find me on Instagram at @anotherbooktuber and just DM me with a picture of whatever your oldest book is, because this stuff just really interests me. I like pieces of history like that and artifacts like that. So that would be really fun. So thank you for indulging me on this video. Thanks for spending some time with me. Now, it's time to get back to reading.